Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiG.
Yeah, Waze, $1 billion plus. It's an Israeli company, according to the rumor mill, which I think seems fairly accurate now. Apple approached them early this year. Would have been a good purchase for Apple. They could have used the technology, which is essentially a crowdsourced
they could have
traffic.
used maps that were right.
Accurate maps because they're crowdsourced, and then great turn by turn, but most importantly, crowdsourced traffic and road conditions and that kind of thing. They offered, according to the rumor mill, $500 million, which Waze mocked. Facebook came at them, offering considerably more, but as with all other Facebook acquisitions, said you'll have to move to Silicon Valley. Then Google came and said you can retain your autonomy, stay in Israel, and we will give you more than $1 billion. And finally, the deal was done. Waze is now Google Waze.
I love Waze. I have learned, I'm late to it, but it is the most remarkable thing I have learned lately that I do anything Waze tells me to do.
Oh, yeah, you trust Waze.
I've been through terrible traffic jams, and I said, turn there? No, you're kidding.
Yeah.
And if I ever not listen to Waze, I'm in trouble. If I listen to Waze, I've found all kinds of new routes.
Oh, I love it.
I've been driving the same route for 20 years. Yeah. Just 2 days ago, I found an entirely new route to work, and it saved me forever. Waze is remarkable.
Never the prettiest maps, but nevertheless, here it is. Nevertheless, effective. It's really a GPS device. Navigate gas. There's some gaming you can have. If you help people with reports, you can get a better icon. You can change your mood.
The top 500 users get direct access to Waze employees.
Ooh, that's nice. You could be a sunflower, a zombie, a cat, a dog. A male or a female, LOL. I love these. And there's some stuff, if you're a map editor, you get to be T-Rex, 8-bit robot. So you see the other Wazers on the street. Even there's a scoreboard. So this is how they gamify the idea of helping people out, right?
Yeah, I don't get that part so much. But, the real value is that because you're carrying it with you, Waze knows what road you're on and how fast you're going, and thus gets the data together. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. I wrote a business plan more than a dozen years ago, arguing that our radio reports on traffic are all god-awful. They know nothing.
Nothing.
And I had the idea that you could, this was before smartphones, right? So you could call in on your basic route that you had already registered and say how long it took you, and you get value back.
Well, imagine this in Google Now, right? This is Google Now does a little of this already. It knows where you typically go. So it'll tell me, it's the usual time you drive up to school. Here's what it's going to take, and here's what the traffic is. These are the reports, so I can show you, these are people who, these are Wazers who wave their hand across the phone or tap it with 3 fingers and then dictate things like moderate traffic. Some of this is from the average speed is just automatically collected, but here's north of here, 7 miles away, there's a police officer hidden. Some of them are visible, some of them are invisible. Heavy traffic. Complete standstill, vehicle stopped on shoulder. These are very valuable. Pothole on road. Sometimes there'll be road debris or roadkill, and then it'll let you know. And I think that's all very handy and has actually saved me. And then, of course, because it knows where traffic is stopped, it will reroute you very effectively.
Now, here's my question, though, Leo. Now that it's going to go into Google, and let's assume that the usage of it just explodes, then does every person using Waze go to the same alternate route, and the alternate route becomes worse than the route that you're trying to avoid?
It is better to not share, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I didn't think of that.
I never really used Waze because Android's navigation was always so great. But do you think that it got as many users as it got because Apple, for so long, didn't have no navigation? Do you feel like it was like the nav app for Apple for iPhone, before Apple launched there?
Yeah, 50 million users, they claim, and it was the #1 mapping app after the Apple Map fiasco. So for sure it gained some users then, but it was already quite successful.
It was already a cult hit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I started using it long before then. I'm look forward to it being integrated into Google. So
I do too.
I agree that they should retain autonomy as a company and so forth and so on, and maybe even a standalone app. I think some people would prefer that. But why not get that data into Google Maps and Google Navigation? That would be really fabulous.
Both better maps and your user data that Google now will know where you go shopping all the time. It'll know all your routes that you take.
Apple announced, at the WWDC that many car companies were going to start incorporating Siri and Apple Maps into the car so that Apple Maps would actually show up on the screen. And I just don't know if that's such a good idea.
Do not want.
Do not want. My next car, which is an Audi, has Google, for a fee, by the way, Google Earth. The fee is because you have to have connectivity in its maps.
Oh, right.
And actually, one of our interns' dad has it, and he says, don't get it. It's very distracting because it's so pretty. You go, ooh, look where I am. Ah! So, but if you could incorporate Waze into an in-car system,
killer.
Yeah, so right now you have to have the app running on your phone in order to know, like, oh, hey, there's a cop.
Which means you really need a dashboard mount, and you need a plug-in and all of that stuff.
Right.
And I don't want a car that's going to be amplified. I want an Android car. And if a brand goes only to Apple, honest to God, that's a reason for me not to buy it now because I
kind of agree.
Invested in Android.
Somebody says in our chat room, and I don't know if this is
no choice. She because she's all about Android.
She has to have an Android
queen
car.
of Android.
Right, no, it's true.
She can't buy an Apple car.
Somebody said the 2014 Jeep Grand Cherokee has Waze. I don't know if that's the case. That's somebody in our chat room.
Too bad it's not a better car.
Yeah. I think you're right. I don't want Apple Maps. Please. Yeah. I beg of you. So I'd love to see, and Google did not mention anything at Google I/O. I would have loved to have seen Google say, well, you got Ferrari, but we got Lamborghini. You got Chevrolet, but we've got Ford. Actually, Ford is the one standout. They're using Microsoft's voice recognition and nuance. So, Apple doesn't even own its voice recognition. Google is the only company I know of that owns its voice recognition. Apple's using nuance.
So this is about a data source for you guys.
Well, there was the theory was, and I forgot who said this. Maybe it was Renee Ritchie on Mac Break Weekly, that perhaps Google, turn by turn might have been a service that Google was licensing. We don't know. Maybe they got it from Telenav or Navtech. And perhaps that contract was up and Google said, boy, we'd like to have our own turn-by-turn. Perhaps that was the reason for the acquisition.
That makes sense.
Doesn't that kind of make sense? I don't know.
I think that's part of it. It's data sources, I think, Gina. Right? 1 is the maps, 2 is the turn-by-turn, 3 is the consumer data. Where do you go every day?
It was John C. Dvorak said that. Credit to John for that.
And then he got paranoid about how Google was going to misuse this and use it to spy on all of us.
Oh, my God. Now, let me – okay.